can't just be, he's a bully, he's a piece of shit, I hate him. Why is he talking about this publicly? If you're going to come out and say that you have a really deep-seated hatred for one of the two people running for president, if you're going to express yourself about it and alienate 50% of the country, which it seems like it is, you're going to have to do better than that. You should have some specific things. Like he did some real estate deals with people in New York. Let me tell you what he did to fuck people over.
I would love to hear it.
He did this and that.
Robert De Niro's 29-year-old child, Aaron, has come out as transgender. When the press asked her for comment, she said, "You talking to they, them?"
Greg Gutfeld and Joe Rogan just verbally attacked Robert De Niro. It wasn't method acting, I assure you. If you've ever wondered what happens when two guys with no chill and a microphone meet Hollywood ego, fasten your seatbelt. These two converted De Niro's attempt to sound intelligent into a roasting session that was hotter than his cappuccino. You will adore this click play before it is censored if you want to watch a legend be humbled live.
Nothing I like more on a Sunday than some old guy spewing F-bombs.
This guy should not be president, period.
And when you say that, folks on Fox come after you. I remember the Tonys when you got up there and cursed. A lot of criticism of you. Okay, well, you know, this is cable, so it's not an FCC violation, but it is still a Sunday morning.
That was Bobby De Niro promoting his new movie, Grumpy Old Man 7, More Strained Peas.
Once the epitome of gritty filmmaking, Robert De Niro was the personification of a back alley in New York and the one you couldn't look at without feeling the faint echo of you speaking to me. He currently serves as Hollywood's top Meltdown Club's unofficial mascot. From mob leader to mob-sized disgrace, the man has changed. And without even trying, Joe Rogan and Greg Gutfeld just finished making him the joke of the century. When two men with totally different styles tag team with you, you know something is wrong. For the uninformed and disheveled, it's WrestleMania.
And De Niro, how stupid is he without a script? Isn't that amazing? I used to think, wow, that guy's brilliant. But once you take the words away from him, he is so stupid. Then when he goes, impeachment will make America great again, and everybody's, ha ha. How intellectually deprived he is. He's a coke-addled simpleton, without a script. It is hysterical.
Does he have a big coke problem?
I just read that article that you sent me about the last nights of John Belushi and how De Niro was there and just basically partied with him and then split. And it's just like, now I just think of him as a really stupid guy.
If you're feeling spiteful, De Niro, Robert appears to believe that he has been ordained by the spirit of political knowledge and public morality. However, the only skill he has recently perfected is the art of screeching into a microphone like a meth-addled pigeon. Yes, he is the same individual who formerly terrorized rooms in silence with a single look. To express his hatred for the person in charge that week, he now needs 3 shots of espresso and a complete teleprompter.
Oh, Robert De Niro.
Yeah.
Now, Kurt's convinced that Robert De Niro's on some kind of Epstein list or some kind of thing like that, and then he's afraid that if Trump does get power, he's going to expose him, and he is actually going to come at him.
Of course Kurt thinks that.
That's what Kurt thinks that.
Kurt thinks that about every fucking thing that happens in the world.
I think Robert De Niro's just got Trump derangement syndrome.
I think he's old, too. There's a thing about old men.
And
they want to yell at everybody.
And he's completely... Did you see when he went and gave that speech outside of the trial? That was bizarre.
Who told him that was a good idea?
And then he starts yelling at regular people.
With the exception of never leaving and having access to late-night talk shows, De Niro is that uncle at Thanksgiving dinner who never stops talking about politics. He resembles your grandfather's Facebook page, but with Oscars instead. You would assume that a man would find tranquility after receiving an Academy Award. Not De Niro, he's dedicated his life to shouting into space and hoping for a clap to let everyone know he's still alive.
Robert De Niro, there's something about being a star where you think your opinion's more important than anybody else's, and you can go give a press conference, and he obviously has been very vocal from 2016 that he hates Trump for whatever reason. Maybe they have some personal thing.
Yeah. You think Trump ever threw a punch himself or took one? This guy who ran and hid in the White House bunker when there were protesters outside? No way.
Now he's like holding press conferences. Now everyone's heckling him everywhere he goes.
That's so bad.
Like instead of just being this cranky old liberal, now you're this guy that is yelling at other people that are Trump supporters, and they're yelling at you. Yeah. Like you've opened yourself up to this nonsense. Why?
To be gentlemen in this world, the Democrats, you are gangsters. You are gangsters.
Between IA anecdotes and recipes for elk meat, Joe Rogan, who usually makes fun of people, couldn't resist making a joke. Since Dyro has essentially placed himself on the spit, marinated in smugness, and gently rotated under the flames of irrelevance, how could he possibly resist? It's not a transition when a man known for his subtlety turns into the loudest person in the room. It's an appeal for assistance. Rogan needed to say very little. His bewildered expression when he hears Dyro attempt to be serious about anything after 1999 is enough to make him laugh for a week. And then there's Greg Gutfeld, whose entire brand is based on ridicule. Dyro served himself like a buffet of boomer cringes, and boy did he. Seeing someone wear their own meme on a t-shirt is similar to that. After witnessing Dyro's most recent public outburst, Gutfeld likely thought, oh, great Hollywood's senior intern just clocked in again. He's also not incorrect. These days, Dyro pretends to be vying for the position of America's most conceited man, but no one is hiring him, and the only compensation is the sound of eyes rolling.
I think that's starting to affect Hollywood a little bit, to where now if you look at the most successful people, it is the realest people. You know, people might not even like, say, a Donald Trump, but people are gravitated because they think, hey, man, this is him. This is real.
I think the best thing for people in Hollywood that are entrenched in that world is to shut the fuck up. Because as soon as they start talking, people as soon as Robert De Niro starts talking, I'm like, Jesus, get that fucking microphone away from him so I can enjoy Taxi Driver.
Yeah, it's heartbreaking.
Yeah, it's heartbreaking.
Yeah, I don't want to hear. I love De Niro. I love those mob movies. It's like,
I don't want to hear him that he's a moron. I don't want to hear him talking about politics and about Trump supporters, and just shut the fuck up, man.
Yeah.
Like, you didn't think this through. Like, this is, and he's getting yelled at. He's doing an outside press conference. Like, Robert, you're 80 years old. Don't ruin this thing.
Now, let's discuss the actual punchline. Dyro's involvement in politics, yes, because the world needs one more multimillionaire lecturing about tyranny while positioned in front of a velvet curtain. Just before he boards a chauffeur-driven limousine to his second yacht, he tweets about climate change from a phone manufactured by low-wage workers halfway around the world. Bravo! Bobby sipping a $500 bottle of wine while criticizing the middle class for lacking sophistication is the epitome of revolution. And brace up if you thought that was the height of irony. He used to portray roles so effectively that you forgot his face, but now he just acts like himself, screaming, ranting, and fighting to stay awake long enough to finish a sentence on cue. The man is now holding to relevancy like it's the last cannoli at a mafia wedding. Dyro would win 10 times if there were an Oscar for the least self-aware use of a platform. In his address, he continued to thank Scorsese.
This is what moms call bad language, or what producers call great TV. The plan, get an irrational figure at peak derangement and goad him into snapping. It's like cabaret for the chronically obsessed. It's like when you were a kid and would pull wheelies on Old Man Johnson's front yard. Finally, he just cracks. He's holding a spatula, chasing you around in his open robe. That's the De Niro CNN business model in a nutshell. Money for nothing and clicks for free. Of course, the real story is how accusations of Trump's nutty behavior always ends up with the accusers acting nuttier. De Niro calls Trump crazy as he goes crazier.
However, the true tragedy is that he is beginning to resemble a character from one of his own parodies. Every time he speaks, it's like seeing a method actor perform improv without a script, guidance, or clue. You half expect him to start shouting about __ again and abruptly change his accent in the middle of his tirade. In record time, the man moved from being a formidable mobster to a high-ranking wine ant. Gutfeld and Rogan, however, didn't even have to twist the knife. Dyro was already sliced. They only needed to indicate the open wounds and let the audience laugh. Because you don't need punchlines when a man is reduced to a parody of his former magnificence. All you need is a platform and torch. Oh my goodness, Dyro gave them a plate of humorous ammunition that was purchased at Costco. Getting older gracefully is one thing. Being angry on cable news like someone who missed their medication and discovered a camera is another matter entirely. The man who was once the epitome of cinematic intensity is now growling like a sullen maul, and we're not even talking about subtle decline. Santa, who recently learnt that the elves had joined a union, Dyro provided them with more than simply content. In less than 5 minutes, he gave a master tutorial on how to transform from legend to living meme. One day, he seemed to wake up, look in the mirror, and decide, let's be the villain in a Hallmark Channel version of Taxi Driver.
Business is just being a real person talking shit.
Yeah.
The professional shit talkers.
Yeah.
You know, having fun, being silly, talking shit about things. And actors are not that. They're weird people, man. And the one thing that's harming them in Hollywood is that they get exposed for being who they really are. And a lot of these people that pretend to be all, you know, clean cut and you find out they're into freaky shit. And, you know, it's like.
And it's easier to expose stuff now because.
Let's not pretend that Dyro's current work has been anything more than a slow slideshow of past glory. Speaking of acting, if you can still call it that, the man has had the vitality of an unplugged Keurig in his most recent roles. Just a well-known face attempting to recall where he lost his significance. No spark, no subtlety. He now uses a DMV line's emotional range in his delivery. You can almost hear your inner conversation. Was it meant to be dramatic? Oh well, I'll just mumble and squint. That was effective in 1976. He is the cinematic equivalent of that old box of Raisin Bran at the back of the pantry, forgotten and somehow still taking up space. It is painfully obvious that he is no longer cast for his talent, but rather because his name still rings a bell even if no one is answering it. The PR code for this is, please don't fall asleep in the theater, so they put his name on a poster, hope he recalls his lines, and promote the entire thing as a return to form.
It's no longer down with Trump. It's Trump.
It kills me. Talk about persuasive. Really, I was on the fence about Trump, but then I decided to really listen to one of the great generational leaders of American pop culture. And the clenched fists at the end, that really drove it home. It looked like he was pressing a 2-pound weight in a Jenny Craig commercial.
Oh, my God.
Look at it again. It's so cute. It's like he found out the restaurant serves Jell-O.
However, the lectures are what really drive this entire tragic comedy to a fever pitch. Like the ghost of old Twitter threads, Dyro, who previously made a living by playing violent criminals with a code, now spends his interviews ranting about ethics and morals. It's like seeing Gordon Ramsay give anger management lessons as he attempts to be the moral compass of contemporary society. You're not sure whether to check your carbon monoxide detector or laugh or cry. The height of irony, let's face it, is Robert Dyro's political preaching. For being uncivil, the man who played mob leaders, hitmen, and loose cannon psychopaths for 30 years is now upset with you. That would be equivalent to Walter White disparaging someone's business ethics. At least I didn't vote for that person, even though I may have cooked meth. The mere boldness is nearly commendable. Nearly.
And when old people are tired and cranky, they just want everyone to listen to them, and they don't have time to have a calm conversation. And you state out your opinion, I'll state my opinion. Let's see where we have common ground. Hey, get off my lawn! And that's what he's doing. That's what he's doing. He's being this old grumpy man that is so lost that he thinks it's a good idea to stand in front of a bunch of people on the street and give a speech on camera about how bad Donald Trump is. With all the shit that's going in the world.
That I know.
All the craziness of the world.
Right now, the guy you're voting for.
And everything happened at the perfect time. The more serious he gets in a satirical piece, the more ridiculous it gets. Gutfeld didn't have to plan a complex takedown. He only needed to hold up a mirror. As he plays the film of Dyro's mid-rant veins expanding like he's trying out to play a pressure cooker, you can almost hear him smirking this week in nonsense. The man appears to be going to lose it at the cost of eggs, even though he could read a grocery list. Rogan, on the other hand, managed Dyro's tantrums with the cool composure of a parent observing a toddler's tantrum in a Starbucks. The battle isn't even fair. Rogan just lifts an eyebrow like, "You good, Grandpa," as Dyro bursts in with righteous rage. It's similar to witnessing a furious squirrel yell at a bear. Absolutely entertaining, not even close to threatening, just a lot of screeching and ill-advised boldness.
Resistance had run out of script. It was just another role without dialogue, so he had to improvise. But I handed to CNN. It got me to watch, and by having it on the 5, it quadrupled their audience. Congrats to Stelter and CNN for that 1 minute. You had a hit. So, Dana, shall I quote Scott Adams?
Oh, yeah, I was thirsty.
Okay.
Drink.
He claims that because we've entered a new phase where not liking Trump is just a lifestyle. So you're a lifestyle resistor because when you...
You don't even have to have a reason.
Yeah, so when he kept saying, why, he's just going, F him.
It's like when...
Dyro continues to push himself into irrelevance with clenched fists, wrinkled eyebrows, and an expression that says, "I remember when actors had class," all the while demonstrating that he is no longer eligible. He believes he is speaking from the top of the mountain in a Shakespearean soliloquy. In reality, we're getting a grumpy New Yorker in sweatpants doing King Lear in an off-brand community theater. The only storyline twist in the man's rage-filled audition for a grumpy old men revival is that he believes he is still in Raging Bull. However, there's only a camera and no ring or opponent. Rogan and Gutfeld are at ringside, drinking and laughing while the shadow boxer yells at ghosts while there's a lot of hot air. Dyro is currently arguing at things in a vaguely passionate, perplexed manner rather than even for anything. He rants, makes wildly erratic gestures, and declares war on whatever the hell he just read in a headline on his assistant's iPad, as if he's attempting to win a discussion that he just partially heard. It's like going to a protest organized by someone who has forgotten what they were protesting.
He's like, fuck you, you're a gangster. Go fuck you. Like,
It's crazy that that's the guy from
What?
Taxi Driver.
yeah.
You know what? Also, I think those guys have no friends. I think the only friends they have are Hollywood phonies. And so you're in this weird world where everybody you talk to is a phony, and you become a phony, and everyone's a phony, and your grasp on reality is very slippery, and your eyes are going.
However, each time he feels like he's dropped a bombshell, all he's done is put on his own ego and make himself seem inconsequential. When Rogan says, "Wait, what's he mad about now?" you realize that Dyro's best performance is unintentionally humorous. When everyone else in the pub gets another round and avoids eye contact, he's like that one guy at karaoke night who genuinely thinks he's killing it with his eyes closed and fists in the air. At this point, Gutfeld doesn't even require writers. Dyro is a dynamic generator of monologues. Every outburst, speech, and headline is pure gold. If Shakespeare had a Bronx accent and continued to rant about the government in between gulps of expensive Cabernet, it would be like watching Shakespeare. You either die a hero or you live long enough to become a meme, goes the adage. Dyro eschewed the meme and immediately became the subject of a Hollywood cautionary tale. And even if Rogan is out there analyzing UFOs and elk meat, he still seems more grounded while he's out there attempting to save the world one reprimand at a time. Dyro has fallen that far. Conspiracy podcasts seem realistic to him. And let's not overlook the story's ultimate turn. Dyro believes he is having an impact. That he's shouting truth to power from a moral mountaintop, no, buddy. The clouds aren't listening to you when you yell at them. You're calling everyone else naive while shouting from a penthouse constructed on privilege. Dyro would have more money than he does now if irony were a currency. Thus, here we are. Two individuals who didn't even have to work hard were able to softly destroy Robert Dyro, a legend in his own opinion. Gutfeld with his smiling snark and Rogan with his deadpan incredulity together, they have transformed the formerly legendary actor into a warning about what happens when notoriety fades like milk and wisdom is replaced by loudness. Dyro did more than simply lose the plot. He screamed at anybody who didn't clap and set it on fire, calling it art. The man who used to command screens silently is suddenly unable to stop talking. And the audience's forced endurance of his tirades is the only thing more exhausting than them. But hey, if Dyro is still capable of anything, it's committing to a position. Regretfully, that role has become cranky. Hollywood has a grudge and a loudhailer. Bravo. Break a leg, Bobby.